A near full house saw Reading lose 2-0 to Tottenham Hotspur at the SCL yesterday. Although it was a chance to see some new signings at home for the very first time, there is still a lot of work to be done in the market for the Royals, and the clock is counting down to that first game against Lincoln away on the 2nd of August. Episode 424 of the Tilehurst End podcast, here with myself, Ben Thomas, as always, is our very own Potato Rosty. How are you, mate?
Potato Rosty. That's a new one. You know, I think they call that a potato pancake over here too. So just like immediately, going on. I might be thinking of the wrong thing, but I actually quite like that. That's a high class potato, so I'll take that.
Rosty's like chopped potato with a bit of seasoning shoved together.
I've heard that you can grate a potato to make those too, which is I don't trust myself with one of those, like, not the grater that's got like a tower, the grater that's like just a slice and you just like go nuts. That seems like a quick way for me to end up with my fingers in the Rosty, at which point it would be a potato rost. So there you go. So
it would quite literally be that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So a very apt metaphor. You're a dauphinois of potato-based puns. Anyway,
well, I've started writing again, so it's there. Obviously got the column back.
You were writing, yeah. Can I touch you? I'll tell the listeners you've written your Dolan for yesterday, obviously, and I was taking various notes for this pod because of how much I respect your time, listeners. I want to make sure that you're getting good quality stuff when I open my mouth. And I asked Sim of this parish whether he wanted my notes for any kind of match report or anything. He said, no, I'm leaving it to Ben in his Dolan. So that's all you got yesterday.
Well, I mean, that will explain why literally no one's read it then, because they're obviously waiting for the match report, which won't come. And it's basically just me waffling on, another potato pun. About me having to sit in a random seat in the Upper West and drinking cold lager.
But the lager was cold.
It was crisply cold.
Excellent.
Is how I put that. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I hope that when you say sitting in the stand and drinking a cold lager, you don't mean at the same time, because that is obviously in violation of stadium guidelines. But in any case, I am jealous that you got to be back in the ground.
You would be amazed at how many people yesterday were just bringing beers into the seated bowl. It was hilarious.
Well, I mean, the first thing I said to my wife when I had turned on the game was just how many people there were there. And so maybe there's just people forgotten, like the rules in the stadiums these days.
I thought you were going to say the first thing I said to my wife was, get me a beer, the game's on.
Yeah, 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time. Let's get cracking. No, I was having a lovely coffee, actually, at that time.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
Well, we are here to talk about Spurs, Tottenham Hotspurs, or whatever you want to call them. They're not really called Tottenham anymore, are they? I haven't heard the phrase Hotspur for ages. No, it's just Spurs now, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to call them Spurs or Tottenham Hotspur. You're not allowed to call them Tottenham anymore, apparently. But yeah.
Boring. Anyway, we're here to talk about that. We've got Gillingham to review. We got a little bit of Swindon, although no one was allowed within 5,000 metres of the game by all accounts, who wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't badged up. We've got the away kit to talk about. We've got loads of stuff. We've got massive mailbag, so we're going to get into it. Huge... I was going to say felicitations. That's hello, isn't it?
That's fine. No, I think that's whatever. Greetings, glad greetings. I'd say is what it is.
Just
maybe
glad about the Amazons, who obviously we say this every week. We'll stop saying it at some point, but have given us their track to use on the pod exclusively. I might add. ZT said films, Voldemort. I think he was quite complimentary about the away kit. So we're going to talk about that later on. But yeah, thanks to all those people that prop us up. Thank you to you guys for listening. Thanks for bearing with us. We were going to do like a midweek pod, and then we just thought Spurs is quite a big one.
Yeah.
We might as well just do it after that. And
it's been a little while since we've had a fun one like that. So, and once we got an inkling of how big the attendance was going to be as well, I think we thought that was let's get that rolled into this one as well. So thanks for bearing with us.
But we're back anyway. Well, I say back, we didn't take a break, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. 424. Let's get on with it. Rock and roll. Right. Okay. Do you want to do Spurs first? Should we talk about Spurs first? Is that going to be
Sure, yeah. I think, to be honest, like there's not a whole lot for us to say about Swindon, so let's do that at the end. And then I kind of have things to say about Spurs and Gillingham. They were almost like a contrast to one another, I thought, which
okay?
was quite interesting. But I think more importantly than that, like starting with Spurs, why don't you tell us about what it was like to be back at the stadium?
Yeah. I mean, there is I think there is a bit of a problem, arriving in that a lot of things have been said about where the club should be now, both on and off the pitch, and being back there made me realise that there have been improvements, and I'll talk about those in a minute, but we're still a long way from what I thought and what other people felt we would be by now. And it's a little bit of a false economy for me because obviously I wasn't sat in the Dolan yesterday because I didn't buy my tickets in time, which is horrible.
Oh, so the Dolan was the Dolan sold out? Were you
Yeah,
were you?
I just could. Well, I completely forgot about the game, and then by the time I did, someone had already nicked my blooming normal seats.
Oh, so where was your view from then, if not
Upper
from the
west
Dolan? Upper. Oh,
in
okay.
the
Wow.
corner. Yeah.
Wow. You
Well,
better rename the entire thing.
I mean, Sim didn't. I
Oh,
gave him all of the options, and he still chose view from the Dolan because he's
shoddy editing.
yeah, sure. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
Um, what did I think? So there were parts of the stadium that looked cleaner. There's like a
Okay.
new bit around the side of the hotel. If you're walking away from the mega shop towards the hotel entrance, they put like a new sort of rockery flower bed thing, which looks quite nice. I don't know if that's the stadium or if that's the hotel, but it was a nice touch because it was just a barren wasteland
Okay.
before
You're
then.
giving me Monty Python flashbacks, and they put a new shrubbery there. That was the main thing.
I mean, it literally was a shrubbery. Yeah, it was. It
Okay.
was. It looks good. It looks good. So that was quite cool. Um, what else? Things looked a bit cleaner.
Do the
I would
stadium
say
manatees look cleaner?
no.
Do the bits?
I did
No.
look up. They didn't. They
Okay.
didn't look great. They just looked as they were. What else? The beer was like really cold. People,
Okay.
regular listeners will know, and readers in my column will know that I've battled all the way through last season with basically lukewarm beer. We've now binned off by the looks of it Heineken. Um,
Well, I think they've expanded the partnership, is what they said. This is kind of why I was asking about the beer, because I think they said, is it Cruz Campo are now
yeah,
is now being sold at the stadium, but this is apparently an expansion of the partnership with Heineken. I think so. It must be
okay.
some Heineken, beer, in the way that the vast majority of beers are made by like AB or like InBev or whatever they're called. I don't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So you know
Well, I
what?
mean, it was cold. I think it was the same
Good.
price. Um, what else? The food offering looks like it's improved in terms of the length and breadth of it. If that's a
Yeah.
phrase you can talk about food, there was a chicken balti pie back,
Okay.
cheese
Oh,
pasty.
okay.
Hot
Okay.
dogs were still there. The hot dog that was still. I mean, I was delighted with that. I missed those
Tell
over
me
the
about
summer.
the length and breadth of the hot dog. Was it still the same as last year?
But yeah, it was fine. It was exactly as it was. It was. I missed it, and
Yeah,
I enjoyed
yeah.
it yesterday. That you can definitely hear announcements a lot better in the stadium. Um, I can use my phone. I could never ever get a signal on my phone, but 5G
Mm.
popped up for the first time ever on my phone in the stadium, and I could text you and
All
text other
right.
people, look at tweets and stuff, which was cool. Look, there's still a long way to go, and I think the club were pretty honest about that when they said stadium improvements were ongoing over the summer, and it is still the summer. We're kind of
Mm.
coming to the end of pre-season, but I think a lot of this stuff you'll see against Huddersfield on the 9th. I can't really give you a full picture of it, an update, until I go back where I normally am. If really what I want is the toilets to be improved when I go back against Huddersfield. That's really what I want. But
Yeah, yeah.
whether or not that happens, I don't know. I don't know. But look, it was good to be back. Like the home kit looks good. The away kit is really nice up in person. That was doing numbers in the shop yesterday. So I mean, there's a lot of things still to do, I think. But it's a starting point, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what else they've got
It's
planned.
literally the first game. It's literally preseason, and they had to deal with. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the turnout today is larger than it'll end up being for the opener for
Yeah,
League One. Because I
100%.
mean, it looked huge at the and it was pretty loud too, which was great to see.
Yeah,
Again, for a preseason game, at least when the game started, it was coming through on the TV pretty well. So and I've just seen so many games. We talked about the games where we're unsure if the like numbers given of like 7 or 8,000 are real. It was just nice to see the stadium actually packed again. But talk about a baptism of fire in terms of you're starting this new era and you have 2 to 3 times the amount of people in the stadium that you've had
yeah.
at some points last year. So yeah, it's literally the first game. So good to hear that there are at least positive signs.
It would be interesting to hear people's or read people's comments, perceptions about where they were elsewhere in the ground.
Yeah.
Look, they said it was a sellout. It wasn't, because there was a lot of empty seats for whatever reason. I don't know why that was, but yeah, look, it was really, really good to be back. And obviously, as you say, baptisms of fire, sort of off the pitch, but on it as well. I mean, playing Spurs was always going to be a bit of a stretch. What Obviously 2-0 result as a result in pre-season. It is what it is. But what did you make of the overall performance up until the 65th minute? And then we'll do the 65th minute after.
Sure. Yeah. I thought that the performance, but before 65 minutes, just to split things even more, kind of differed either side of Finn Burns going off for Reading. And I think that was kind of one of my key moments of the game for me. Obviously at this stage in the season, they're still gelling with a new team and everything, and so personnel can be even more important than the actual like game plan and things like that. And I thought that Finley Burns was doing a good job of, kind of breaking out of the pressure that Spurs were trying to put him under, and helping Reading to actually build up and have a little bit of possession. And obviously you would expect Spurs to have more possession in general. They ended up, overall for the game with, I think, double the amount of possession that Reading had, something 66 maybe. So yeah, I think that, in the few times that Reading had the ball, they needed to use it smartly. And I thought they were more able to do that when Finn Burns was on the pitch. And unfortunately, of course, he went off about midway through the first half, to be replaced by Michael Stickland, who also played against Swindon. I think started against Swindon in midweek. So after that, I don't think Stickland was bad defensively by any means. I actually thought he got some important blocks during the game. And I'm not surprised that he finished the game too, because I thought he was generally pretty steady. But he didn't have the same kind of movement going forward. I would say Finley Burns really seemed to just bed into that, that build-up structure and understand how to move with wing really, really quickly. And I did definitely think that after that, Reading kind of fell into their shell a little bit. I'll say I felt that they were much less willing to press, really high up the pitch. They were much more cautious than they have been at any other point that I've seen in the last couple of years. Reading kept it very, very tight. They clogged up the center of the field and really tried to make it hard for Spurs to go through the middle of the field. They got through a few times. They're Premier League footballers, and I mean Spurs started a very strong 11 by all accounts. So a few times they got through, but I thought that Reading were pretty solid. But that's kind of the reoccurring thing at the moment with this no hunt team, is that it's solid, but going forward it's a little bit limited at this time. So yeah, that's kind of how I thought things looked before the 65th minute.
Yeah, I mean, structurally, you're right. Like we didn't look too bad. Pretty compact, as you say. Interesting that really it's kind of I say brand new, but we missed Dorset for most of last season. Obviously, two new centre backs in Burns and O'Connor, and obviously, Brafer, who, I mentioned a few players, but I thought he had an all right period of time in that first 45. And,
Yeah.
Solanke on the other side, in terms of Spurs, looked pretty leggy, kind of well off the pace, really, in terms of how they were going forward.
I think that
Johnson,
was their first game of preseason too. Yeah, so literally like shaking the rust off from the preseason.
But you're right. I mean, I thought Lewis Wing was okay. Charlie Savage had a shot that pinged over. There was sort of a really good save from Joel Pereira. But moving forward, there was very, very little. I thought, how are we saying it? Because we had a text, didn't we? Marco, are we saying Omani?
Well, okay, so I think that the long and we did get a text or a message in some form about how to pronounce Marco Mani's name. I think the long and short of it is if you don't have an Irish accent, you can't really pronounce his name, because there are things that my mates who played football with us who are Irish say that I just simply cannot say in my accent. Yeah. So I'm sorry to any big Marco Mani fans listening. Yeah,
we got voicemails, didn't we? We got voice emails. Yeah. We got everything after the pod when he signed. We just call him number 20, Mark. Right?
Yeah.
He looked quite spicy. There was a bit of a cruncher.
That's actually exactly what I wrote. By the way, is Marco Mani is spicy.
Yeah, he got booked, didn't he?
Yeah,
he gets booked to the friendly, like absolute savage.
Had a proper kick at Pedro Porro too, which I just quite liked it, really. So but
there is, if that is to be our starting front three, I thought Garcia was good in that elevated, right position, but there's a lot of work to do, and I think that the problem for Noel really is whether or not he goes, seriously, just give me another 3 forward players, that I can use and rotate, or he then sticks with these against Slough on Tuesday, and then obviously Portsmouth at home the following week, and just says to him, look, just start working together a little bit more. I mean, it's a little bit warped because we're playing Spurs, who defensively were very, very good in the first half. Nothing really troubled them at all.
We had that one sort of shot that went just over the series of headers that went just over, troubled, got very close. We can actually talk about that briefly now, if you like. There was a very obvious set piece routine for Reading starting to emerge. So Savage is obviously taking things from the left side, and I think he takes corners from the right as well. I'm not really sure. But in any case, Reading are kind of packing the 6-yard box. There's a lot of big guys in this Reading team now. Marco Mani's a tall lad. Finn Burns a tall lad. Porty O'Connor is a big guy. And so they'll hit it to the back post, often like over the first group of people where they're looking for, it was often Porty O'Connor during this game. And that was then causing issues, when the ball got, put back across. I think this chance that Reading had, probably their best of the first half, came from the ball being delivered into the box, to the back post by Charlie Savage. I think Porty O'Connor actually ended up sort of like chesting it back across the net, and then it kind of just about got scrambled clear by Spurs, but we saw that a few times throughout the game and against Gillingham as well. So it does look like, with this pretty physical lineup that we put together, that will be something that we'll see quite a lot this season.
Second half, Spurs changed their whole 11, which I have to say I got a lot of respect for, because there's nothing worse than watching friendlies and people are making subs every 5-10 minutes because it just disrupts the game. But to completely swap the whole team at halftime, I thought was pretty cool, really. Obviously, Ben Davies came on, which was the reason that most people were there, I'm sure. Unreal player, Ben Davies, just so consistent. Son came on as well.
Is who, Heung-min Son. Yeah, in potentially his last game in a Spurs shirt as well.
I mean, he looked well off the pace. We'll talk about Ahmed and what he was able to do there in a minute. But Son looked well off the pace.
When he came on, can I say, by the way, when they brought on the 11, great work by the camera crew for Royals TV, because Frank walked onto the pitch instead of going down the tunnel with the team that had just come off. He instead walked onto the pitch with the 11 that was going to go on after the break, and basically walked them through, what he wanted, which was just really quite interesting. And the TV cameras caught him, with one of those magnetic whiteboards, just kind of going through what he wanted and how it would be set up. So just really interesting view. Got
Yeah,
to see.
and that's the thing with these friendlies. You just see some bizarre stuff,
Yeah,
But I guess if you're changing the 11, you don't want to talk to the 11 that's just played. You want to talk to the 11 that's about to start. So, it was interesting. Kudos looks like a great player for them.
oh
A
yeah,
real bit of
fun to
skill
watch. Yeah,
on the right touchline. I mean, how he got past sort of 4 or 5 players and kept the ball in and still managed to cross it in, I don't know. But he looks a good player.
yeah.
2 goals were scored in pretty quick succession, 49 minutes and 53 minutes. Both, in my opinion, certainly from where I was sat, very easily avoidable. Just switched off for both goals. We then made a raft of changes on 65 minutes. Kind of a bench emptying moment, really, around 65 minutes anyway. Standouts for you, Ross, in that kind of cluster of substitutions that came on?
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting group, wasn't it? I mean, like we can just run through quickly who came on. I mean, Ash Ahmed, Jacob Borgness, Matty Jacob, Ben Elliott, O'Kine Peters, John Ryan, Shea Spencer, Osho, Kamara, Jack Stevens, lots and lots of players. To get to see for only a first or second time, and I thought that I think kind of why we'd left this last 25 minutes for now is that this is a really encouraging period. I actually thought, contrary to a lot of things that we said last season, the most successful sort of player coming off the left for Reading all day was Mamadi Kamara, who was doing a really good job of sort of wheeling back inside and using that as a way to give players around him a bit more space as well. I think both of us were really impressed by Ahmed and Osho down the right side. Ahmed looks a real player. He looked pretty good last year, and he looks just so much bigger as well. Whipped in a really dangerous shot that Vicario had to push away. So yeah, I thought that the subs who came on were great, but I think one thing that we saw that we knew we were missing last season, down the stretch, was Ben Elliott. And Ben Elliott in this game was able to come on and just immediately, show what it is that he can do and why we've missed him so much. He just takes people on. He made a few dribbling attempts. He's good at passing. He's good with his feet as well. So yeah, just I thought made a difference, and recovered a few balls well, just to keep, attacks going and things like that. He's got a decent frame, and obviously put a really nice shot on net too. So probably Reading's best, period. And I'd say that Ben Elliott, obviously a lot's going to depend with the midfield on what happens with Harvey Nibbs in the coming weeks. We think he's just injured at the moment. But it could be a big season for Elliott if he can stay fit.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. There's been a lot of speculation, to put it politely, on Harvey Nibbs. We are told that he's injured. He was there at the training ground last Sunday, which we'll talk about later on. But he was talking to everybody and having his photos taken and signing stuff. So it's a tricky one this time of year, because I think there are a lot of people out there that just want to get some attention on themselves rather than the actual, the bread and butter stuff of football finance and transfers. But with Ben Elliott coming back, I think people forget it sort of softens the blow. Obviously different players, but still in that ballpark, really.
Really offers you something, I think, and unlocks something in a lot of the other players as well that Harvey Nibbs maybe doesn't. I think that, this is maybe part of why you saw the press a little bit less aggressive, is that Nibbs isn't playing right now. And obviously he's a huge part of that press. And you do need personnel who are suited to the roles that you're going to give them. So if we don't have that, obviously Savage is very athletic. And we brought in Marco Mane as well, who can do that kind of thing. But, I do see the desire to sit a bit deeper and try and create things when he's not in the team.
Do you think any of that group that came on around the 65, 66 minute can start or should start against Lincoln on the 2nd of August? I know we're sort of 2 weeks away from that, but as you say, there was some good performance there. Matty Jacob came on and played centre back for some
It wasn't
bizarrely.
expecting that at all. No,
Yeah,
wasn't expecting that at all. Matty
it,
Jacob making his
it was
first
good.
appearance there.
It was spicy. He put some tackles in. He didn't let him get past him, and he was very strong. And
Yeah,
I guess my thing is, and I'm feeling a bit sick saying this, but say we don't make any transfers between now and Lincoln.
yeah.
Is that what does that first 11 look like? And do you think, from that group we discussed, do you think they can get in the starting 11?
Yeah, I mean, like Reading have conceded 3 goals in 3 games, and 2 of them to a Premier League club. So it's not like there's a big need to really shake up the defense or anything. It's definitely been good to see Dorset back, from injury and looking, I think, pretty decent. I wrote down that he does a better job of covering the half space than Garcia ever did, and Garcia could kind of get pinned into his position sometimes. But I did think Matty Jacob was really good, and obviously we brought him in to be a first choice left back, really. So let's hope that Finley Burns isn't, it was just brought off precautionarily, because it's preseason. But I would think that the starting, even though Dorset has played more, I would still want the starting, back four to be, well, 3 of the starting back four to be, Matty Jacob, Marco Mani. My word, too many new players. Porty O'Connor, Finley Burns, but then now I think is where it gets spicy, where it gets interesting.
You have to look at the right back spot as a very, very open field at the moment. Obviously, Yeadon wasn't involved. Again, we're told injured. Rashisha, we're still undecided about where we would put him at the Tilehurst end in terms of positions, but he was injured as well. But, you wouldn't have any qualms for either a Brafer or Ahmed to start in that
No,
right at the
no,
moment.
there's competition right now for
Yeah,
sure. I think that this time last year it would have looked like a Brafer would be walking into that position. But I think that Ahmed looks pretty good as well. I mean, I thought that a Brafer had some good periods as well, but
he did.
in terms of going forward, Ahmed was really quite impressive in the short time that he had.
And obviously, you got Michael Stickland waiting in the wings, who again had a decent game yesterday and is a good player, very, very accomplished for his age. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, John Ryan, we've not even mentioned.
Yep.
He's in the mix. So defensively, I dare I say it, but we look a little bit stronger than we did this time last year in terms of the players we got in and the caliber of them. Obviously, losing Bindon is absolutely massive for us. But, as we've said, Finley Burns was decent. He was really, really good for the 22 minutes that he played or whatever. So it's going to be, it's always really interesting to see that first 11 go out, at the start of any season. But certainly this one, that you'd imagine that if Nib stays, the midfield is nailed on, Ben Elliott on the bench. It's just this forward.
That's just checking there. Like, yes, I think that Savage has earned the right, and now obviously is the best player
100%,
on the
obviously.
left side to play there. But I think that if you can get Ben Elliott into the team, you could play some sort of like diamond. I actually think, kind of just to bring Gillingham in for a minute here, this is going to be the defining thing of Noel Hunt and how long he lasts as Reading manager is. I think we can all see that he can make a team, hard to beat, to use a cliche. I think that we can see, the numbers back that up, that he brought, the defensive capabilities of the team up, when Sellers left. And that kind of unbeaten run that he had was built on that. Reading just didn't ship that many goals, but Reading also didn't score that many goals. And now this is kind of, not that many goals scored this week. And against Spurs, that's maybe understandable, but there weren't too many chances created. And you would hope for a few more against Gillingham. That game, I think, was really interesting and really important because it was up against, a pretty deep block. And I think that's something that Reading are going to see a lot this season. Reading are going to be a lot of teams are going to come to Reading, just trying to get a draw or trying to get a point or whatever, and Reading are going to have to try to break them down. So, I think a lot of the opinion around Noel is going to be centered around, can he actually create a coherent attack? And that's the one thing that so far haven't seen quite as many signs of. Obviously, we know that he wants to be a bit more direct when he is attacking, but I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops, and whether there are more personnel coming in to kind of help with that.
I think he's saying all the right things at the moment. He's obviously of the opinion, as we all are, I guess, listen to this, that we do need depth. We need a lot more. I guess if Nibs is sold for a fee, that helps us out a little bit. I'm not entirely sure how or why these transfers or reported transfers have taken so long, but we desperately need some other options. And I'm not going to sit here and write Marco Mane off after the first couple of games, because that's just preposterous. But he did look like he struggled a little bit yesterday. Gillingham so, but we need goals in the team. We've not got many goals at all, especially if Nibs leaves. So we have to be really, really proactive in that area. I'm wondering what Slough looks like. Does he stick with this image of a starting 11 or stronger 11, and then tinker with it as the game goes on? Does he start with a group of youngsters first? Don't know. I think the more interesting thing for me will be the Portsmouth game next week at home, where we can really sort of try and play our way. I think there was a little bit of a reservation yesterday in terms of, and it sounds stupid and it might be completely wrong, but not getting absolutely smashed by Spurs, because you could go push forward, leave loads of gaps everywhere, and then they go to town. And at 2-0, I thought it was going to get out of control at that point, but we managed with the changes just to kind of slow them down and take the game back to them a little bit. And I know we're talking about pre-seasons here, but it still does something mentally, I think, to the players. You don't want to be walking away from a pre-season where you haven't won a game, or you're getting hammered in each game or whatever. So the Portsmouth game will be interesting. I mean, really large question here, but if you could only sign one player this week, who would it be and why? No, I'm not gonna give you that one. Yeah. what position would it be? What you can only go and sign one player. Now, where are you going?
I think it has to be get the left winger signed so that we have a sense of what it is that we're working with on that side. Because, so I thought that Kelvin had been re-signed, and that's why he was playing against Swindon and Spurs. But you think that's not the case?
No, I mean, there's been no announcement that he signed anything.
Yeah, which is crazy.
He's playing he's effectively a free agent right now. So he's playing as a trial. Joe Morrell wasn't involved yesterday, unless he's decided he doesn't want to do it, or he was injured, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe the club didn't want to expose him to that because it's still up in the air with that. But Kelvin's almost there. It's all a bit odd, to be honest with you. I don't know why. If for me, and this is probably why I'm not in football management, but if he hadn't signed a contract, I probably wouldn't have played him yesterday.
Yeah.
I probably would have gone, who else can do that with the players that I've got, or is there a trialist that can come in and do it? But the thing is, once you start playing people at home in a big crowd, it heightens that expectation a little bit in terms of, this player's coming in. If Joe Morrell would come in yesterday, everyone would be like, well, we've signed him. And I think that's a lot around Kelvin and his position. We've always been big fans of him, and I'm not going to say that he had a great game yesterday, because he didn't. But I would say that we really need to know what we're working with. And I've said this time and again before, I would, any outgoings in an ideal world, they'd be done by now, and you'd go, right, this is what I've got. Obviously, football doesn't work like that. But I do wonder what is going to happen this week in terms of those incomings.
I
really hope that happens.
I think that means then that signing that left winger is, whoever it is, whether it's Kelvin or whether it's somebody else, that is the most important thing. Players are starting to get snapped up by direct rivals for promotion. Now, I don't think that we necessarily wanted Josh Koroma. There are mixed reports about him from Huddersfield, but there was a high-end League One free agent there who's been snapped up by Leyton Orient. I do think that signing a forward with some good prospects, either a wide player or a central player, would definitely go a long way to kind of assuaging fears around depth up front. Because again, like I thought that Mamadi Kamara was probably the best player we saw at left wing yesterday, and that's great. It's great that he played pretty well. But obviously we know his limitations from having seen him for quite a while. So yeah, I definitely think that signing someone who can play out on the left wing would be a really just a good way for keeping the fans calm as much as anything, but also providing some of that depth. And that just tells us what we want to do behind him. Do we want to use Matty Jacob and use someone who can get up and down? Do we want to use Dorset and use someone who can tuck in and be that third centre back almost, which is kind of where we saw him in many cases yesterday, sort of coming in and defending in the box with his head. So yeah, it's going to really impact how Reading can play, and like I said, how Reading choose to attack, I think is going to be really important to Noel's success at the team. So yeah, I'd like to see the left wing position done this week if possible.
Well, Calvin, like Nibs, last week was at the training ground. Great open event last week. Yeah. Honestly, it's hard to explain, really. Given the years that we've had, and particularly the last 2 years that we've had in terms of the club almost being on lockdown and not having any sort of transparency at all because of reasons that we won't rehash now. It was an unbelievable event.
Don't have to rehash them anymore. Don't have to rehash them anymore.
Exactly. But it was almost like party's the wrong word, but everyone was just so great in terms of people coming through the gates on the buses and just experiencing the training ground. And I'm very lucky in the fact I've been there a number of times for various different reasons. In smaller groups or on my own or for meetings and stuff. But honestly, seeing that the weather was brilliant. It was absolutely, scorching down there. But
lovely, yeah.
It was just really, really well organised by the club. And I don't know how much time they had internally to organise it. But, and I've said it time and again, but Jackie Evans is unreal in terms of what she's done for the football club and how she manages to deal with things. And she was just fantastic. And the way she managed to organise it so quickly, it was really, really good. A lot of volunteers down there. And there was, there was a lot of people that came up to me and their first question was, how's Ross? And I just said, I've no idea. Like he's not here, is he? So maybe talk to me as a person instead,
And you were there at, 7 in the morning?
Actually, right? So yeah, I was down there about 8, I think, in the morning. But someone did ask me, does Ross really live in America? And I said, yeah. And he said, no. I thought it was a joke. I was like, it's
just the long con. Just the long con for all this time.
He does. But honestly,
I'm sorry you got asked questions. You should be asked questions about yourself. I wasn't even awake. I wasn't even close to awake at 8 a.m. your time.
But obviously not everyone, because that's ridiculous. But a lot of people came up and said they really enjoyed what we do at the Tilehurst, and they like the pod, they like the writing. A lot of people said that Sim was fantastic on the pod, and they want him on more. Generally, but it was. I think sometimes when we do this, or I do as well, but you forget people actually listen to it. Like we're just having a chat here about Reading and we put it out there and to be fair, people in their numbers do listen to it. When you meet people and they kind of talk to you and go, oh, like, it's this or it's that. I don't know. It was a weird thing. Yeah. It was a really, really weird thing. And really, really grateful. And I know Ross is as well. And I'm sure everyone else who writes for the Tilehurst End is when people read it and give us feedback, good or bad. But it was just great to connect with so many people, and the players were brilliant down there at the weekend. They had a little pop-up merch shop thing where they were selling.
I was going to ask about, So your shirt, it was great. Your shirt today, for people who aren't listening on YouTube, can you describe your shirt? Because it's a very interesting Reading get-up.
Yeah, so this one was, I think it's actually a 10. I think I paid a tenner for this.
Okay. Wow.
It's the one with the skyline on it. You can sort of see the
cityscape.
And it's one of the under 21, so you can see the Premier League badge there. And it's got number 6 on the back, so it was obviously worn at some point. But they had so much stuff, so much stock that's obviously been knocking around, that's been really cool. Over-ordered. A lot of it was new. This is obviously a used one, but it was great, and it must have brought in a fair bit of money back to the club. And It was
Okay,
just a
so
really
yeah.
well run event. It really, really was great. There was beer there was food. They had kind of the chefs cooking what the players would eat, and you could buy that as well.
Oh,
Joe
that's cool.
Jacobson was milling around, like all the staff, like Rich, the kit man, Roberto, the other kit man. Brian was there. Great to see him and his family. Brian Carey was down there. Noel was there for a long
Nice,
time talking
nice.
to like the queue for Noel was unreal because he was just talking to everybody, and it just it felt very, very unique, and it felt very, very authentic, and it felt just great to be part of it. And if you went and you enjoyed it, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but tell the club that, like, they've really been on the crap end of so much stuff over the years. If you
Yeah.
thought it was good, just send them an email. Just go, it was fantastic. And there was so much stuff on social media with pictures and everything, and it was just a phenomenal day. And I honestly, I look back on it now, and I realise how special it was to be part of all day. So really, really grateful for that. And it's a phenomenal facility. It's
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. Phil was there, the new media guy. Like, he's a great guy. They're really trying hard with that. And if
Is
you've
he the
listened to
guy
the
on comms
yeah,
now?
Phil
Phil?
Catchpole.
Yeah. Okay, so we heard him for the
Fantastic.
first time yesterday with John Clark.
That's
Um,
right. He was. I think he was on the Gills game as well. I
Oh, he
think he
was.
was.
Okay, my apologies. So yeah, no, he was. Yeah, he was with John Clark. They were both good. It's just it's good. It's not intrusive. It's
Mm.
pretty much like a radio broadcast whereby you're just trying to make sure that people know what's going on the field. So yeah, it was good. Nothing to complain about.
Yeah, honestly, really, really good day. Lots of new shirts. Lots of people
Mm.
gone out and bought the new shirt, which was nice to see. And of course, we get another one this week, Ross. The away kit.
We do indeed. Okay, so I thought you were saying a third one as well as the away
Oh,
kit,
there
but
will be. I
no.
don't know when that comes out, but there will be a third one. Yeah, but
So
the
you've
away kit.
seen the actual color of this kit now, which is the thing that I can't really get down because obviously I'm always seeing it in photographs. It appears to look a different color in every single picture that I actually see it. So what are you seeing? What did you see at the stadium yesterday with this new kit?
When I first saw the images online, I was not keen at all.
It's a little
Um,
Cadbury's factory interest. It looks like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
it was horrible. I didn't like it, but seeing it yesterday,
Yeah,
it's a very different tone to what you see online. It's definitely one of
sure.
those ones you need to see in the flesh. I will probably buy it, to be honest with you, and I don't tend to do the away shirts particularly, but I will probably get the away shirt. It looks really, really nice. It's hard to explain the color of it. Don't know why I'm looking around the room as if something like that's just
You're
gonna.
just seeing what a pan au chocolat or perhaps a loaf of bread or a mullah, a chocolate,
Loaf of bread.
you
What
know,
loaf of bread is orange?
well, not
Tiger
a
bread,
tiger
I
bread. Yeah, it's exactly.
suppose.
So yeah,
Is
yeah.
it tiger bread? Yeah, it's kind of. I suppose it's like the crust of a tiger bread loaf.
Okay, you're actually selling it to me more now
It's
than I.
nice,
Yeah, yeah.
and
So
I like the town hall as well. I love the town hall as a place, and it's got
okay,
like the designs on it, like the windows and stuff. It is good. It is good.
yeah.
The shorts are nice as well. They're almost like an off white creamy color. I don't know why I'm rubbing my fingers together like a kind of
What?
like palette.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah,
Can
it is.
you
Yeah, but
tell
do you know
me
what it is? Do you know actually the shirt is kind of almost like
chicken madras?
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe we
yeah.
do that. Chicken madras then. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the chicken madras shirt. That is quite funny. Can you, as someone who lives in Reading, can
yeah.
you tell me, like, does seeing the buildings from town on the shirt matter to you? Like, do you like it? I guess is my question.
Um, yeah, because I think it's
Okay,
very, very unique. I don't. So obviously, I think we had this one the same time as the grey one with the Forbury Lion on,
right,
and
right, yeah,
the
yeah.
grey
Which
away
I like
shirt
that
is
one.
the grey away shirt is hands down one of my favourite shirts of all time for Reading,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the Forbury Lion for me is very, very emotive's the wrong word, but it's just very Reading. Um,
I know a motive of Reading. I
Not
think that's
Forbury
good.
Line, the
Yeah,
Malwyn line, but in Forbury Gardens. I'll have
yeah,
people
yeah,
shouting
yeah.
at me now. But that for me was one of the best shirts. I think if you keep doing it, it becomes a bit of it's another novelty shirt. But, you have to balance that. This one was good. The one I'm wearing, again,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
unique in terms of the skyline. I think it does. I think it's just nice to have that identity, and
Yeah.
the people at the club designing them, Tim and Rosanna's obviously part of that team, but like they're very clued up on the local area, and what have we all said? We want our club to be community based, and we want that
Yeah.
community back. So you can't complain really when they start lobbing landmarks or things that are uniquely
It
Reading on
shows that
there.
there is at least some thought going into it. There's some
Yeah,
care going into it, which is nice. Yeah, no, I think that like me looking at them as someone who like lives, used to live near Reading, but no longer does and hasn't for a long time. It's kind of come at me as a bit strange because I'm like, Reading doesn't necessarily have buildings that I would call iconic, but the thing that makes a building iconic almost is like going past it every single day and
yeah.
that being part of your community and your culture, and or when you walk around, it's just like the background to your life. So yeah, I think that if you live there, then I think it is nice. And again, it just shows that there is some care being taken about these. So yeah, it's an interesting kit. It's better than, I think we had a relatively quiet year last year in terms of what the kits looked like. They were pretty not tame designs, but they were pretty, I think, accessible.
The red one's a great shirt as well. I didn't like
great
the red
shirt.
one.
Yeah. I just changed
Third
my Bluesky picture to the to myself playing some football in the red shirt because I love that
the red
one.
Okay.
Yeah,
the red one was good. Home shirt was okay last year. It's pretty basic, but again, nice.
Yeah.
Different hint on the royal blue. So look, I can't complain about Macron. Can't complain about the design process either. It's been positive. So yeah, if you're undecided and you can get down the stadium, have a little look because I think it might change your mind. We're gonna head into the mailbag. It's quite a big one, so we've got a few little bits and bobs in there. So we'll take a short break, have a little swig of whatever you're drinking, and we'll see you in a bit. Okay, welcome back to episode 424 of the Tilehurst End Codpast. Codpast podcast, even Codpast. I just got all mixed up.
Welcome to the Tilehurst End Codpiece.
Podcast. Goodness me, what a joke. I've lost my train of thought now. What am I doing? Podcast.
Yeah.
Podcast. We've got loads of bits. We've got loads of bits in there. You might have seen, I've lost it completely. You may have seen on social media that we've changed the graphic for the questions because Tyler Bindon was on there, and alas, he's no more. So
we changed the style though because I think like Ryan was busy or something. Like, I think that was literally the main reason. So if you're wondering how much of an unprofessional joke of an organization it is, normally when we change the graphic, it's partially because a player leaves and it's partially because we lose the graphic.
Graphic designer, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll end up, getting one of those graphic design is my passion things that's written in biro on a lined piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what have we got? We've got loads of bits. So Bobbins, I saw him last week. He was in fine fettle.
Good health.
He'd raided the merch stand. He's like, this was only a tenner. This was only a tenner as well. And I was like, all right, mate. Some of us have got to keep our money for our children. Like, chill out. But he was having a lovely time. He was having an absolutely delicious time down there. So it's good to see him. Is there one aspect of our play from last season that we need to improve on in a big way? If so, what is it? That's a you question.
Yeah. I think that it's generating more shots, and I think that with this no hunt team, it's probably going to come from generating more crosses. I think that some of the best moments we had in that 25-minute period yesterday were when Osho was able to get some cutbacks back across the box. And, it's funny, like I think that people... There was that game, or maybe a few games, where O'Kine Peters scored, a hat trick or maybe more last year, and that got people quite excited about him. It was a shame that he couldn't quite catch up with a few of the cutbacks that came in yesterday, and I almost wanted, Basil Tuma there, the fastest man in Malta, to be able to catch up with some of those. But I think that Reading were pretty good at controlling the first two thirds of a field last season, but often weren't really creating that much once they got to that that final third. So you'd end up with Reading having more possession than the other team, but fewer shots over and over again. And I think that if Reading are going to push from that sort of, top 10 level in League One to playoffs or beyond, it's going to come from generating more shots. Generally, you're looking to generate more shots to generate more goals. It's not rocket science. Obviously, everyone, you can generate more goals from fewer shots. It happens, that the best teams can do that. But, in general, those teams will generate goals by generating a lot of chances. And so I think that getting more crosses into the box, cutbacks, whatever they are, and getting more shots, that's something that Reading really need to improve on going into this season.
Just score some more bloody goals.
Score some, just shoot the bloody ball. Genuinely. Like how fans like going shoot, like whenever like a player is within the same postcode as the goal. Genuinely, that might help Reading this year because they really need to do that. But you need to be in position to shoot, and I think that just trying to generate some more crosses might be one of the ways that Reading can do that, because they were often out-crossed as well as outshot last year. More targets to aim at now as well with these big lads. So
yeah. Mark Palmer, if the club sold stress balls shaped like Dai Yong's head, would it outsell shirts?
Ooh,
I don't remember Reading ever selling like stress squeezy things.
I actually think that's a great idea for football too, like stress squeezy things. Because like I get quite stressed when I'm watching football. Like that's part of why I love it, is that release of feeling uptightness.
I don't think they could. Well, there's no way they'd be able to do it with his face on. But what would you have?
I was going to say the obvious one is just a football, obviously. But then you've got to think about.
What about Kingsley? Kingsley's head.
Yeah, I was going to say Kingsley or one of the Reading, like the brown footballs that's kind of in the middle of the badge.
Oh, yeah. I like the centenary football things. Yeah, or a crown. That'd be good. We're just quite the badge now.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think
it works.
It's a great line of merch. Talking of merch, did you see Todd and Rob wearing the Make Reading Great hats?
I did see those.
Make Reading Great Again hats. What do you think of them?
I did see those. There is something in America called Blue MAGA that people talk about, which is like people who act like MAGA people just on the Democrat side, and it just like the hat looks so much like that. It cracked me up. Yes, I did see that one.
I think it was good. I liked it.
You had that cat, like make cats safe again or whatever. AI hat.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So like, this is what I don't see. This is the slop I don't see from not being on that god awful platform anymore.
They would have posted it. Like you would. It was just a photo of them. He was in the purple turtle and he just had a hat on. And I thought, fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah. I love that he's getting into it. He named his second dog after Reading, didn't he? So like it's great that he's in it for the long haul.
Yeah. Neptune O'Neill, Charlie Savage said in a recent interview Basil Tumer is Reading's fastest player. Yeah. Do you think he could do a job for us on the wing?
Yeah. See, I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, like if it's not going to be Kelvin, who we think is someone who wants to either. I mean, like Kelvin does his best work in the half space, whether that is, like kind of getting inside, cutting inside onto his right foot, or kind of like getting to the byline sort of 5 yards, 10 yards away from the goal and cutting it back. So that's always going to be what he does. And if you want something different, I think it's going to be a more traditional, like touchline hugging winger. Now, I think that Matty Jacob is going to get chalk on his boots a lot, and he's going to be, busting a gut to make those kind of overlapping runs, provide some width to Reading.
if he plays at left back, of course.
If he plays at left back, this is, and I'd like to see that before the end of preseason, because I've just talked about crosses. Matty Jacob might be someone that these crosses can come from. His progressive passing numbers, like we talked about last time, are really impressive. So it might be him. But yeah, maybe Tuma's another one whereby you can kind of have him, try and go out a little bit wider and just beat a man for pace. It'll again depend on what you want to do with your fullbacks, and I'm just not sure I've seen fully, what it is exactly is the plan going forward just yet. But I'm sure that'll develop more over the coming weeks.
Lee Griffin, he's got two questions actually. The fact that Long Kelvin, I love people when they,
I'm on
because you
it.
can,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, and someone said that to me last weekend about Long Kelvin. I was like,
Excellent.
you're listening, and
Excellent.
you can't lie about that stuff, you know?
No, it has to get
You have
stuck
to
in your
be
head. Long
in the
Kelvin
game.
and was it Long Kelvin and Small Kelvin? Yeah.
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 The fact that he played against Swindon but hasn't been announced yet as staying, do we take this as signed or another status seeing as he was given to last weekend to sign? Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. I don't think anyone really knows, and it's become quite boring, to be honest with you. Like, he obviously played yesterday. He was at the training ground the other week. Obviously, as Lee said, played in a week against Swindon. So, you know, it's pretty tiresome, to be honest. And whatever's holding it up, like you said, Ross, you just want to get it done and dusted.
And I don't think it's worth this level of
No, it's not.
I just don't think it's worth this level of discussion, to be honest. Like, I think that we'd obviously like to have Kelvin for this season coming. You know, like we've seen things from him before that are impressive, and he does have that kind of like magic moment in him that, you know, we all like watching football for. But at the end of the day, I also think that he's the kind of player that we would be able to go out and replace if we needed to by the end of this transfer window. And again, the best left winger I think I saw yesterday was Mamadi Kamara. And we've talked about his limitations, but, you know, if I'm just thinking about who was, you know, what have you done for me lately? And who would I start based on form? I would start Kamara in game one right now, which might sound a little bit silly, but still.
Just to confirm, when you said it's not worth this level of discussion, you don't mean the question, you mean the overall how it's consumed the club, don't you? Because we don't want to be slagging off the readers, do we?
Oh yeah, no. I'm not saying it's not like I'm not slagging off the read. I'm just saying like the Kelvin. You know, if Kelvin stays, then that's great. Like I said, we want him to do that, and if he goes, I think we'll be able to replace him. It's not like whereby I think we're still kind of missing Femi a little bit because he was really, you know, offering us something a little bit different and winning us, you know, scoring goals out of nowhere at times. Just a bit more often than Kelvin was ever. So yeah.
I could just imagine Lee going, right, well, I'm hitting pause and never coming back to this ever again after Ross has ended me.
I like
but
your
yeah,
last name, Lee. Let's see if that makes you feel any better.
well,
Griffin.
do you know his profile picture is actually a Lego Griffin?
Oh wow! See, that's cool. I like Lee. I like your question's pointless and can fuck off. But like, I like your name and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you like the tie-ins.
Yeah.
The other question is
Who can I
Trialist
slag off next?
Is Trialist Morale a likely good pickup? Yes. Next question.
I like that idea. Yeah, I like that idea. Because I was kind of looking at Morel and his career, and I was like, it's really interesting because it seems like he was kind of like doing bit parts and performing a job, you know, wherever he was asked to show up, basically, until he kind of caught that John Musinho Portsmouth upward trajectory. And it does seem like he started a good amount of games for Wales or played in a good amount of games for Wales before as well, right?
Yeah.
And I thought he offered something, you know, again, like a little bit of energy, a little bit of grit against Gillingham, which I quite liked. So, yeah, I would be quite happy with Morrill. Yeah, I think that would be a decent pickup.
Niall, this is a great question. I don't know if you're going to be able to cope with this one, but we'll give it a go. If the Reading squad were playing a test v England, what would be the batting order? So we're talking about cricket.
I don't know what that is. I genuinely
you don't know what cricket is, or you don't know what the question is.
I mean, I don't know the words around cricket, so like you're going to have to guide
me. You know,
me.
you go in pairs, right? So you when you bat, you go in pairs.
Okay.
So one person's always facing the ball, and the other's not.
What if you hit the other person with the ball?
Why would you do that?
Okay, all right.
Do this so basically, right?
Yeah.
So let me. Okay, how do I?
When you go to the Portland Sea Dogs, when you score a home run, a lighthouse comes out and fireworks come out. So this is how I consume like bat and ball sports. I just want you to know right now, like, I need there to be fireworks. Yeah. So basically,
if you're opening,
okay,
you wanna get as many runs on the board in your partnership as you can, right? Okay. So basically, I guess to simplify the question, and also end, because if you're chasing runs, you want someone who you know is not going to get out off the first ball. You want to get some big runs in. So
Okay.
look at me, I'm a cricket man.
Yeah,
I'm not.
You seem to know what you're talking about there.
We should have asked this to Tom Hill, because he plays that flipping game. Yeah. So basically, what I guess the question is, who do you think in the current squad would be able to get some numbers on the board using a wooden bat hitting a ball? Like, who would be good to open the game, basically?
Okay, I'm going
So,
to
like,
go with...
okay, let me put it this way. So, if you're taking penalties,
Sure.
like it's that sort of thing. You kind of want your first guy to be nailed on. Let's get one.
Okay. Harvey Nibbs, he's an athlete. He's just an athlete, isn't he? Yeah.
Who's his partner then?
Marco Mane, because he's big dude, can hit things. Seems like a guy who played hurling at some point in his life, so maybe he's good at hitting things with a ball and a bat. So
if any Irish people were offended by that, I profusely say sorry on behalf of...
I'm saying that the Irish are good at hitting balls with bats. That's fine. That's totally fine. They are. Right, they hurl.
So you've got who Nibs and Amani, right? And who's last on the board?
Last on the board. What does that mean?
Who's coming out last? Who's chasing the game?
Wing. Right, because he's the best. I think that's right. I'm still so lost by this.
Do you know who I thought? I thought Pereira, because he's got it's the hand and eye coordination, isn't it?
Fair.
I think he'd be tasty towards the end.
Yeah. Do you know what the Yeah, actually, no. I was about to bring up the Savannah Bananas, but I'm going to leave that, because that is a rabbit hole that I could go down forever. So we'll leave that for another week.
Part that one then.
Yeah.
And because we're idiots and we didn't do the pod when we said we were going to, there was some supplementary questions.
Oh.
Which I will just find now.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay. If you're serious about... Oh, no, that's an ad. I've just read the ad. You get those spam things about winning bets. I don't want that, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, shambles. Matt says... Matt says, would you look to sign another... That's why you always check the mailbag, isn't it? And
it's more people asking the same questions about the left wing, isn't it? Do we need to sign the left wing?
Would you sign another right back? There will almost certainly be a point where Yiadom and Abrifa are injured at the same time. I'm unconvinced by Rashid's cover, who also has injury troubles. Ahmed looks promising, but Saturday, Tuesday would be a lot to ask. Would you get another right back in?
It depends where you end up in the loan market. Like, if you get to August 31st and you still have a spot free in the loan market, I would wait, because I don't think I think you can still loan people until the end of maybe even October. It's weird.
Position has got emergency loan all over it, hasn't it?
It really, yeah, and I do think, I mean, like, isn't John Ryan normally a right back rather than a left back as well? Yeah, so there's another option. I by the way, I think that's funny and spot on that at some point Abrifa and Yiadom will be injured at the same time this season. That is, book it right now. That will happen. And I'm almost like tempted to say, like, we need to find the way to send that man money for a beer when that happens, because I think that is a nailed on prediction for this season for Reading. I quite like that. But yeah, I again felt quite encouraged by Ahmed. And we started, we got to the point with Garcia now by like giving him a bunch of chances. And I think that there will be a player, we don't know necessarily who it is right now, who kind of fills that role this season. And it could be Ahmed, it could be Osho based on what we saw. It could be Tuma. It could be someone who we haven't really thought about yet. Saki started yesterday, and I didn't think that he was amazing, but certainly didn't embarrass himself. So maybe it's him. At this stage, I don't know, and I wouldn't be surprised though if that kind of like breakout player this season came from the right back position.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be prioritizing that position, to be honest.
I think we need a forward. really badly. I think we really need a forward, and maybe it is that the way in which we go forward is dictated by the right back that we bring in. Maybe there's some incredible target that we have at right back who will be able to go backwards and forwards and will dictate how we want to play in that way. But I don't think so. I think that's going to be the forwards.
London Royal 89, a lot of youngsters impressed. Defensively very good, but desperate need of wingers and strikers. Up front game is weak. Garcia could be world level. So that's an interest. I've heard a few people say that, actually. Speakers were loud, beer was good, and toilets were clean. Nibs possibly leaving in the rumour mill. Let's pick up on that Garcia point. I mean, that's an interesting comment. What is his level, do you think?
It's a really good question because I think those were some of my favorite moments yesterday was when that he was able to get one-on-one, and Spurs didn't allow it to happen very often. There was a moment, I think it might have been Destiny O'Doggy was kind of able to help shepherd the ball away from him when he kind of took on one player 1v1 and almost got around him and needed a second player to come in and kind of stop that from happening. And after that, he did often get double attention. I think this is where he should be playing up on that sort of right wing spot. I think that he always wanted to come inside last season, so it'll be interesting to see from the other side of the pitch, will he still do that? But it seemed to give him more opportunities to get 1v1 with players, and I think that he is one of those players that we have right now. We don't have loads who will just go and take somebody on right away. So while we're still looking for the solutions at both left wing and right wing, I think that this is more than a good time to try him. I don't think that he's really broken out yet. You would have hoped for maybe getting a little bit more out of a few of those chances that he was able to generate against Gillingham. Obviously a team a little bit lower down the tables. But yeah, I think that is probably where Garcia is going to end up. That is probably why he's getting, part of why he's getting attention from teams higher up the ladder. So yeah, I liked him there.
Final question, Oliver Mantle. What do you think about the balance of loan signings, full transfers in the club's business this summer? How differently do you feel about loanees versus purchase players? Does it make a difference within the squad? How does it help long-term versus short-term plans for the club? Could have done a whole pod on that one alone, really.
Yeah.
The short answer for me is that this is very much a kind of, you've got a year, everyone's got a year to see where we are in terms of the league this time next year.
Yeah.
To balance out the finances and to kind of keep things reasonably calm, but also to really look at, again, I'm just being honest about the coach and staff and the manager's style of play and everything else. This is a very much a kind of, we're going to piece this together now as best we can, and we're not going to lob loads of money behind it because we're inheriting, a little bit of a mess. I think,
but also a little bit of momentum on the field, right? They're not inheriting a complete shambles off the pitch right now. It's not like it was, 2 years ago, whereby Andy Carroll was still starting, Nesta Guinness-Walker was still starting, even though Savage was there. Like there was a need to really change things at that point. That's not the case right now. And I think that you make a really good point there, because I think this is, 1 year to give the people that kind of helped drag us out of the mess we were in, keep it going and keep going with this core of players.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with it. Like, the loan players look okay based on, less than an hour yesterday that I saw them and in previous games against Gillingham and so forth. But like, I'm not as concerned about that ratio as I think other people are. So this is very much a kind of, well, we just see where we are this time next year. And if we end up seventh again and we miss out on the playoffs, then it's basically, if we're in this league again this time next year, that's when I think the checkbook comes open and they go, right, we're throwing money at this now, and we want to get out of this division for the foreseeable. And that's when the pressure really ramps up. I wouldn't say this season is a free hit at all. I don't think there is as much pressure as other people have potentially put on them. I just think this is a kind of, let's just see what happens. Obviously we want to be as high up the table as possible. I still think with a few more additions we compete at the top end of the table, but I don't think that it's an absolute disaster if we don't go up this year, with the proviso being that the next year everyone knows that the goal is to get up, because we can't keep going through the motions in League One. So, I think it's a sensible approach at the moment, but I won't be saying that if the squad still looks the same against Lincoln in 2 weeks' time. So there's a contradictory answer for you, isn't there, Oliver? I hope that sort of made sense. We're gonna head to the preview. A few little bits in there. 2 games coming up this week, and then we'll be good to wrap up episode 424. All right, welcome back to the final part of episode 424. Long one today. We had a lot to chat about. As shouldn't be
There's a lot
surprising.
going on. There's a lot going on. It's the summer. There's always there's always a lot going on in the summer, regardless of there not being as many games.
And this is exactly why we didn't stop the pods, because we knew most of us are in a good headspace, and it's just nice to chat football club things.
It's nice to chat football club things and real football club things, isn't it? Not football club might be dying things. So yeah, it's just nice to have steady chats about Reading.
And on that note, highly unlikely that anyone is listening from Morecambe. But if they are, just horrible situation you are in. What are you laughing at?
I'm just adding Morecambe. I'm just adding Morecambe to my list of Ben's S-holes of the UK for 25.
Well, I mean, it's not great,
the
but
list is growing. It's coming together.
What's happening to the club? I mean, it's just vile. Absolutely vile, and we all hope that you are able to get out of the situation you're in. So yeah, it's not good, and we were there. I don't think we were as close as you guys are in terms of the club, being lost, but we came pretty close, and we know that. So we hope that you can have a positive week and things are starting to resolve. But it's just horrible, looking at the interviews and stuff with that, really. So all the best to those guys. And of course, Sheffield Wednesday as well, going through a similar thing. So the more exposure that these things get, the more change is going to be affected. So fortunately with you guys at the moment at this stage. I don't like Morecambe as a place. That's why he's written that down, and that's why he's been away. But
I didn't realise that was what was going on when you said
that.
You were just talking trash.
They just have to be like proper a-holes, but we're not. We're nice guys.
Sorry, Mark.
But in all seriousness, we do hope that you are able to get out of it. We're going to talk about another place I'm not keen on, Slough or Slough, as it's actually said. I don't like Slough at all.
Okay.
Even though it's in Berkshire, it's not really Berkshire, is it? It's kind of.
It's sort of in that bit of London that's like an armpit full of highways, from what I remember.
Maidenhead, cracking place.
Okay.
The Royal Borough of Windsor and Eton, not a problem. But Slough, no, pass thanks. We played them behind closed doors. Scott Davis coming back to the club. Manages Slough, ex-player. Great guy, very inspirational speaker. If you've not heard him speak or, watched any of his interviews, fantastic guy. We play behind closed doors at Bearwood, the lovely Bearwood. Bit of a weird one to have, Ross. I know it was supposed to be Oxford. They pulled out because they are literally bricking it, but we got Slough. What do we make of that? Is the result important? Is it more about, getting, in inverted commas, the minutes in the legs and all that kind of stuff? Or is it just a game that gives us extra practice at trying to formulate what we want to do?
It's definitely a little bit of minutes in the legs, isn't it? Because I think that, you'd hope now that Matty Jacob is good to start a game, and hopefully start a game at left back as well, just so that we can start building up experience of what that's like. You maybe, don't put Finn Burns back in because, again, I think that him as a person, as personnel, was kind of making a difference to the build up by himself. Gives an idea that maybe we can trust that he will be able to do that, and maybe you put Stickland out there again and see what you can build. See what you can build into the legs. Because it's against Slough, at the end of the day, we shouldn't be troubled, too much at the back here. And this is really going to be about trying to build some patterns for generating more chances and more shots, I think. Because I think that, we just have been missing something connecting the midfield to the attack so far through preseason. And, Reading need to kind of show that. And obviously there was the game that was 5-1 against, was it Hungerford Town, the other non-league club. So, another good result like that, just to kind of take the shackles off going forward, I think would really be useful. So I expect there'll be a lot of younger kids. Maybe it'll be the players that ended, the forwards that ended the game against Tottenham. But yeah, I think that we really want to see some more goals scored here.
Honestly, I was so baffled by your answer there and just in awe of it that I forgot to take myself off mute.
Yeah.
I think it's raining. There's definitely a dog barking outside. It's not my dog. But
the cow's lying down. Can you see the cows?
No,
I know
I
you
can't see
can't
any
see
cows from here,
cows.
unfortunately.
I've seen Ben Street. That's not where cows go.
No, cows don't go. They don't get up the hill. It's too far.
No, it's too much.
What was I saying? Oh yeah. So Slough.
Yeah.
And then we're back at home against Portsmouth. Random again, really random fixture given the way in which the clubs have gone at each other over the years.
Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah.
You've gone from 20 something thousand yesterday against Spurs to what? Maybe 5. I think that might be being generous. At the moment,
nice
the SJM is open, but do you want to play attendance bingo?
Yeah. Oh, good. There's
only one stand open at the moment, so go on.
There's only one stand open. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I was going to really stick my neck out there and say like 10,000 or something.
It's not going to be 10. It's nowhere near that.
Yeah. Can they sign Heung-min Son for one appearance and maybe we can open up more stands?
They have signed John Swift though.
Wow, there you go. So, just to see Swifty, that would be nice.
Unless that was a dream.
There you go.
Talk about what you expect from the game while I make sure I haven't stitched this.
What do I expect from the game? I expect Marco Mani to really want to score a goal against the club that he was with last season, and hopefully, maybe you don't start him for the game against Slough, and you start him against Portsmouth, and it would be good to get him sort of up and running before the season starts, because obviously there's a lot of promise around him, but we haven't seen too much just yet, and he hasn't had a season where he scored a lot of goals yet. So I think that against Portsmouth, again, what I want out of this week is just some goals, so we can see if those goals are random personnel driven events, or if they are forming some sort of a pattern, and trying to get towards Noel having an attacking sense going forward. Maybe that's why Scott Marshall was brought in, maybe forming more of the attack. It was, that was why he was brought in to kind of coach that. I know that James Oliver Pierce had a big role in the attack, in the in possession work when Sellers was here. So, managers do that all the time. But yeah, really, I think we want some goals from this week so that we can kind of get a sense of what the team is looking to do going forward.
He has signed for him. Thank God.
Okay, there we go. Has he signed permanently?
Yeah, we pride ourselves on knowing our stuff on this pod.
Yeah,
good move for him. I think he played in the PFA. I don't know why we're talking about John Swift, but we're in there now. He played in the PFA free agents game, and it was a surprise that no one at Championship level had picked him up until that point. But he's made the move to Portsmouth. They lost yesterday to Crawley Town. Prior to that, they beat Farnborough 5-0. They beat Woking 2-0. I'm sure they've had other games behind closed doors and stuff, but fair to middling pre-season. I mean, does the result matter? Is it more about the performance? Is it we lose 3-0 and it's all into the sea and never come back? Like what's the vibe of this game?
It's all into the soul and never come back if we lose to Portsmouth, of course. Yeah, I mean, goals. I'll just keep saying it. Goals are the most important thing for me. I think Reading need to score some goals. Again, I don't want to throw hell to leather and go out there and not and give up 3 goals, like you say, and lose 3-0, and then that looks terrible or feels bad for the fans, before the new season starts. But again, I think that Reading need to start developing, some patterns of play that can consistently lead to at least them getting looks at the net, or at least getting, into the box, with an opportunity to do something. That's really the primary thing we need to see. The goals that were scored this week, one was scored by a trialist, the other was scored by Kelvin, who we said is, a trialist for all intents and purposes. Yeah. So where are the goals in the team? That is the question, I would be banging the drum about right now. So I care about the performance going forward. I think that, again, we got through a half against pretty much Spurs' first team lineup, and blunted them to the most part. So I'm not too worried about the defense. I think Noel's showing that he can put one of those together, but we really need to start showing something going forward.
Yeah. Well, tickets are still available for the the game against John Messino's men, the return of John Swift to the SCL. Just to wrap up, really. So Slough this week on Tuesday behind closed doors. So please do not attend that game. Portsmouth at home on Saturday. Clear week then ahead of the run up to Lincoln away, which I believe is a 3:00 kickoff. Definitely on the Saturday. Tickets for that go on sale tomorrow, alongside the tickets for the Portsmouth away game in the League Cup, which is
knowing that this will come out on Monday, though. Do they actually come out today?
They come out today, yeah. I don't mean tomorrow. Yeah. I mean today. I do mean tomorrow, but I actually mean today. You know what? They come out on Monday.
If on account of how time works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. If you're listening to this on Monday, which you will be, because you can't listen to it now, because it's not live, then they're on sale. If you've listened to them after 10. If you listen to this on Tuesday, tickets are on sale now. Is that clear?
There you go. Got it. Nicely done.
Both shirts are for sale as well. They're down at the Mega Shop, so you can grab those. I think you can grab them online, but you can also grab them in person. Go see Dale, give him a little hello, tell him that you listened to him on the pod and how great he was, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much it for us, really. That's been a long one. So thanks for giving us your ears and your brains and your chortles if you're driving your car or sitting in a conservatory listening to this or whatever. Right. But yeah, we do appreciate it. And as I said, all jokes aside, it was great to meet a lot of people who listened to the pod last week. It really, really was heartwarming. Is that the right word? I don't know. It was just nice.
Think if that's the word that comes to mind first for you, you can use it. I think that's the important thing.
Heartwarming it is then.
Yeah.
Ross, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. It's coming up to bedtime for me now.
Enjoy your sleep. Enjoy your holiday week.
Enjoy. 6 weeks now.
Yeah. Wow. Never even going to come back at this rate.
No, that's it. All done. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We will be back. I dare to say it, we might even be back in the Sunday to Sunday vibe.
Who even knows? It's difficult to say at this point. It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, it's the off season, so we're just popping back in and out whenever.
Anyway, 425 will be with you in no time, so don't worry about it. This has been episode 424. Thank you as always for your time and your commitment. I'm just rambling now. Just shut up, Ben. Just end the pod. Take care, everybody. Have a lovely week, and come on, you Ards.